What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today I'm going to talk about a little film called Hello Beautiful. Hello? Yeah, I'm talking to you. Yeah, you. You're beautiful. It's not a movie, I just wanted to compliment. And it is a movie. It's actually based on a best-selling book, and this film stars Tricia Helfer, and it's been popping around the month of October for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and trying to get into some screens for its motivational push. It's about breast cancer. It's based on a true story, um, and it translates. So is it good? What is this movie? Um, I just things just come in my path and I watch them. So yeah, Trisha Helfer would not have been, if I'm being honest, which you will always get weird honesty from me here, would not have been my first choice for a film about a woman dealing with breast cancer and having to go through all the treatments and all of the stuff that goes through that. Um, just because the body of work that she has been given, this isn't really the type of role that she's usually gifted. I'm sure she was so happy that somebody thought of her. She's often used in like sci-fi, nerd culture stuff, and kind of relegated to that. I'm sure I haven't seen her at a Comic-Con, but I'm sure her line is pretty long because her resume justifies it. If she's at a con, she's done something that you've either seen that was on television, movies, or that she voiced in something. So, but definitely she doesn't do indie dramas like this. This is not her bread and butter. But again, I'm sure that she loved the offer, much like I'm sure Pamela Anderson was really happy to get The Last Showgirl. Like, it's something that just sort of came across and I'm sure wowed her that somebody actually gave her a serious role for once. I think actresses probably got into the business wanting to be taken seriously, not just wanting to be the object of affection for weird, lonely men. Uh, so kudos to the casting team for reaching out to Trish Helfer. She plays Willow, who is a model, um, who has a husband and I guess a daughter. I keep seeing it referred to as a daughter, although the relationship was so weirdly contentious that I truly thought it was a stepdaughter. I thought they had come into this relationship that way. Plus, she's kind of old, and there are things in the conversation that her husband mentions about, because their daughter's a little bit of a wild child, and he's like, well, maybe you should spend more time at home. And he's like trying to explain things about his culture, which I didn't even know what culture he was a part of. This film doesn't have audio description, so I didn't pick up on the what community he's a part of, religion, I don't know, race, ethnicity. That whole thing was lost on me through audio description. I was like, oh, there's a hot second where they speak in like another language, but I didn't recognize it. I wasn't immediately like, oh, maybe this language will help me. So I would think that if you were married as long as and long enough to have a child as old as she is, that you would that she would understand more of this like culture thing and not need an explanation. That would just be my hot take. I feel like that was for the audience, but also it doesn't really make sense. So that's why I was thinking maybe it's a stepdaughter, maybe she's like a new wife, and that's why the girl hates her so much. But yeah, the daughter is very salty. So, and I think the first interaction we have with the daughter is that she's snorting cocaine, and Willow catches her, and Like, I feel like that scene kind of didn't quite hit the peak. What was she like grounded? It's like I grounded her for 2 weeks for cocaine. What is even happening? Anyway, um, so eventually they're gonna go away on vacation, but she's not feeling good. She's gonna get go to the doctors, get diagnosis. They're gonna run some tests, and she makes the joke. She's like, "Why do they always run the tests before the weekend? So you have to sit and marinate. Like you can't get your results until like Monday." So she has to like ponder the whole weekend. And of course, Monday morning comes and the doctor does that. Can you and your husband come in to the office? And she's like, it's bad news, isn't it? It is. So she has, they found something and they need to take care of it. So she enters into radiation therapy and is sick and goes through all the stuff that uh, like millions of women have gone through regarding breast cancer. And films, depending on the angle, don't always focus so heavily on this. And honestly, this film kind of deviates at times too and tries to find other things to do than just be a cancer film. Um, but I think that's probably I think those were the weaker parts of the film. I kind of needed everybody to just to support Trisha in this, because that's like, again, she's playing the character that the book is based off of. This is her story, and there's like this deviation with this weird, um, like rebel without a cause teenage daughter that she has. There's some spoilers in here. Sorry, she has a boyfriend who's a loser and does a bad thing. But it's just like, it feels like it's just like one more thing that's in this movie, and they keep having these little moments. And her relationship with her husband is like kind of contentious before the cancer, and then like during the cancer, and then he tries to be supportive. And I guess like culturally I should understand like what culture he comes from and why being emotionally responsive would be harder for him. But he was such a weirdly cold character at times, and then other times he would try to be warmer, but it felt like it was just dialogue that was thrown in. I didn't feel like there was this deep connection between two people who really loved each other and had built this life together. It didn't feel like that. At the end of the day, she ends up getting this sort of support from women, who kind of come and help her. But I think it's an interesting performance from Trisha, because she's so used to like punching people in the face and being like this sci-fi action star, that she comes in hot like all the time. She's ready to like rip a door off the frame if she needs to. Uh, like this teenage daughter, I was like, you don't know who you're fucking with. That's Trisha Helfer. She will roundhouse that door. You're trying to say, this is my room. You can't come in here. Bishop Kool-Aid her way through the wall. Didn't you see Battlestar Galactica? You should know I'm capable. So, yeah, I kind of thought it would be like a softer touch, but we get a lot of that, don't we? Like, when I think of cancer movies, I think of like Stepmom, right? And I love that movie. It's really sad. Susan Sarandon, and that narrative that plays out. I thought that was kind of a lovely movie. Um, and eh, they're usually they're not these strong badass types, which is what Trisha is. And I feel like that's the niche that this walks into. And while I know Trisha's also a model, I think Trisha is so used to being like like a badass action star, that there's a certain amount of hostility that's built into this character from the beginning. Like there isn't this like warm, oh my god, I made cupcakes. Like that's not this character. This character feels like at any time that she could break you in two. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but it makes for a much more interesting look at this character because we don't usually give this role to those types of women. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think Gina Carano is going to get this role. You know, I don't think Michelle Rodriguez is going to get this role. Like, the girls who are known for being tough girls and not, uh, you know, sappy, uh, dramatic, warm, lovey-dovey, whatever on the other side. But the girls who kick ass for real, like those girls don't get those kind of offers. Uh, so it made for a, like at least a different perspective. I think it's unintentional. I just think it comes along with the casting, and it's Trisha's potentially limited range, but it's not like the film doesn't benefit from it. It's sort of like there was criticism with like Pamela Anderson with Last Showgirl. It's like, is this really a big stretch for her? And I think, and same thing with like Dwayne Johnson and the Smashing Machine, right? You match a talent perfectly with the material, and it just works. If Trisha has a background with cancer, if she's a survivor herself, it wouldn't surprise me. And if she went on like an adventure and raged out a lot when her cancer, I also would not surprise me. This feels like exactly how she would react to cancer based on sort of Trisha through the media that we've gotten all of these years. I think it's what helps Hello Beautiful stand out is because it's not like we haven't had cancer dramas before. It's not like these films don't exist, although the IMDb page does act like these films don't exist and have never been made before, and that this is the truth, and that this is the true representation. I just think sometimes it means people haven't seen enough movies. But, if you don't see yourself represented in media, then you have to create the media in which you are represented. So I guess that was true for at least somebody, they felt like that they hadn't seen the right cancer story based on their experience, so they made the cancer story based on their experience. And I think the byproduct of that is this casting of Trisha in this role that I would not have expected her to get, but she makes the role more interesting. I just wish the film around her was more interesting. I wish the characters around her were more interesting. I wish she had a husband that I didn't have to like have an explanation of his culture and like why he can and can't do certain things. And it's all like subtle, right? Like he suggests that there's all these things, but it's never fully like explained. We don't spend a whole lot of time because it's not his film. So like the film isn't steeped in like them going to a temple or a mosque or, something like that. It's not one of those films either. And same thing with like the daughter. Like every time she's used, it's always in like sort of kind of an aggressive, like typical rebellious teen phase. It gets kind of old. And then later towards the end of the film when something happens and we're just like, I was like, oh good, we have one more thing to throw onto the pile of shit she has to deal with throughout this film. And then there's sort of like towards the end, she's working somewhere at a charity. Again, I'm no audio description, so I'm piecing all this stuff together. And there's like a little child who I think is like homeless and maybe like an orphan. And she's like, would you like to come stay with us? And I was like, girl, you don't need this in your life. You have so much going on right now. This movie needs to be about you and about your journey and your recovery. And I mean, it was the nicest and sweetest she had been like all movie long was to this little kid. But at the same time, it just goes back to the fact that I wanted more characters to support her. There is sort of like an older female, it's probably her stepmom, her mother-in-law, whatever. Mother-in-law makes more sense. Um, it's probably that. I'm gonna guess. I thought she was maybe the closest character that made sense to supporting Trisha in this effort. I think this film could have done better casting wise and writing and fleshing out the ensemble, supporting characters and fleshing out the plot and the story and what this family is like and their dynamic and everything, just better to support Trisha's experience. Because I think she makes for an interesting choice and her character is interesting. And I think if we had taken a step back and looked at what Trisha was offering when she got the role, that it was this fiery, no holds barred kind of approach to being a mother. And so you have to kind of change it up a little bit. Like, Trisha doesn't feel like she'd be in some sort of like subjugated relationship. So if that's what this is, where he's like, well, this is the tradition, I mean, she doesn't feel like that at all. Like, she feels like the kind of person who would punch that dude in the face, you know? Like, the man is the breadwinner of the household. Kick him through a wall, you know? So, but there are a lot of strong women who get breast cancer, and I think that's what makes this film work. So I'm a little mixed on this film, but I'm oddly I'm oddly supportive. I've said this through a couple of films that I've seen recently where, yeah, the film's a little mixed, especially because of the lack of audio description. Although here, the lack of audio description just would have helped clarify some things, but this is a far more easily to understand film in terms of its narrative than some other films without audio description. There are a couple scenes where there's no dialogue for like 30 seconds, you know, like we're doing something, I don't know, driving down a road or something. But I don't know, I felt like I basically got what it was trying. I was picking up what it was putting down, but still within that, I generally thought, even if I had audio description, I kind of wanted more from the supporting cast. I don't think they're bad actors. It's the writing. It's the way that they're all written as sort of like one note, like plot devices. So, a movie for breast cancer survivors who are also strong women, like for women who were maybe in the military and, they're out there being veterans. I don't think that story has been told. You know, a woman in the military fighting and then she gets like a breast cancer diagnosis while she's in active duty. Like, what happens? You know, like, I don't think those stories have been told, and yet that's the kind of representation. And I think for some, Trisha's gonna feel like that. I think for the women who don't take bullshit, for the women who do kick down doors, I think they're gonna relate to this. I don't think the housewife with with like no job, 10 kids, does laundry, and has enough time every single day to bake like all this like fresh food. I don't think this is her. I don't think this is her experience. I just think, I mean, first of all, Willow is a model in this, so it's already sort of a semi-charmed life that she lives. It's not your basic stay-at-home situation anyway, and just the way that Trisha is, her demeanor, the way she carries herself on screen is just, it doesn't really lend itself to that. But I think in a world of, we get hundreds of films, there's all this content creation, you can watch things. I don't know where this is going to be. It could be on Tubi, it could be on Hulu, it could be, I don't know, wherever, I don't know where this is going to land. So with all of your choices out there of things to watch, and limited amount of time to do this, there's got to be a reason. And who does it speak to? And I think it speaks to strong women who aren't brought down by cancer. Like, and I mean like strong, badass, fighting, kick-ass women. All women are strong. I love women, but I'm gay critic. This is not that. So, but yeah, it's the kind of women who will lift the car, who will, I don't know, survive the zombie apocalypse. What happens when those women get the diagnosis? Because I always feel like it's not those women who get the diagnosis. Sometimes you'll get a woman that's like at the height of her career in the business world, right? That's as close as we get. But I can't think of a drama that has featured like a pro wrestler, that has got a diagnosis, or MMA fighter, female boxer, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's taken out of the ring. $1 million Baby with a completely different twist where she gets a diagnosis instead, and that's what takes her out of the ring. So that's what this is. So yes, it could be better. So this is like a soft, fresh score, but it's carried mostly by Trisha's performance. And kudos to the casting director for taking a risk on her, because I think she's the most interesting thing about the film. And at first I was like, I don't think I like this choice, but by the end of the film I was like, I totally get it. I don't know that they get it. I don't know that the director gets it about what makes Trisha work, because it feels like the film kind of is fighting it. But I think Trisha is what makes this film stand out in a good way, and in a very unintentional way. It's what happens when you cast someone in a role and you're not really paying attention to what their general vibe is, and that vibe carries into the role. And I think Trisha brings something that's fresh to the role, but based on the script around her, I don't think that was intentional. But she's by far the most interesting thing about this film. So I'm gonna give it a 6.5 out of 10, and I'm gonna give it a fresh. So check it out. It's the best work I've ever seen Trisha Helfer do. But to be fair, she's never been asked to do anything like this. So it was sort of like, yes, inherently, that was the best performance of Pamela Anderson's career in The Last Showgirl, because no one's ever asked her to do anything remotely close to that. So it's now you have to kind of put it up against the other performances of the year. Will Trisha Helfer be on my top list of the year? I don't know. I'm not saying no. She's just not my immediate, like, number one, this is the best performance I've seen all year. So it's like nebulous when you go down onto a list and I'm trying to pick like top 10 performances. So I don't know. I still have a lot of films to see this year, but I did like it. So kudos to Trisha. Yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I'll see you guys on the other side.